His mouth. Gosh, it's got kind of a kind of does sound a little like Buffkin. It's yeah, it's the Buffkin voice. It's the alien Transformer voice. It's the same guy. Morton Roadkill. Yeah, and he still sounds like him. A little more special delivery spooger though. Anyway, so yeah, that was making of on Halpinator. Now let's actually film.
William Hollybrook, I don't know whether I should kiss you or kick you. William Hollybrook, I don't know whether I should kiss you or kick you. William Hollybrook, I don't know whether I should kiss you or kick you. William Hollybrook. William Hollybrook, I don't know whether I should kiss you or kick you.
Lucy Mathis, looking for Ariana. Lucy Mathis, looking for Ariana. Lucy Mathis, I'm looking for Ariana. Lucy Mathis, I'm looking for Ariana. Lucy Mathis, I'm looking for Ariana. Well, a little making of. Yeah, they're all set. We have them finally revealing who the Jodie Bennett Lark. Well, we knew that, but the audience didn't. Yeah, the white Jodie is Benny Clark. It's just funny in the story, and so we have them finally revealing. Oh yeah, that's Jane Foster's daughter from the original series, Jane, right? So she's Penny from the slightly altered timeline, and so that means that technically Hollybrook is in this universe married to, or at least a Hollybrook is married to his own stepdaughter, basically, which is really gross. And yeah, but it also goes with that other character, Lion Star, from the other story that's in this one too, who probably wishes that could happen. Yeah, but this guy actually lived it, which is disturbing. I imagine that would be a divorce immediately afterward in real life, and they would all be ew. But this probably happens in the world out there. It's not based on anybody. It's fictional, of course. But yeah, it's actually very Greek. The Greek tragedies did stuff like that, so, as well as Shakespeare also did stuff like that. So. Just as a behind-the-scenes note, this is a scene written by Mark's Cards in this movie, and now we are going to shoot it. It's different. So that is enough. We've got a lot. Nearly to the very end. Well, technically the end of part 1, although part 2 is an extended 7 minutes after it just to screw around. On the well, it's part of the story, but they kind of ramble. So this is technically the midpoint of the story, and we're gonna stop for now. It's been enough, I think, for the day. And so that's what we got so far. Went a long ways, did another 30 pages, and yeah, cool. There we are. So yeah. And making of has been 5 days. The voice has returned, and we're going to attempt to do some filming. Yeah, we'll see how this works. So let's just start. No extra stuff needed. Let's just start. I'm back a little bit. Scene pickup. It was the wrong Harry Kim. It's not supposed to be the changeling other guy. It's supposed to be Harry Kim. It was page... It's not many lines, so we're just going to reshoot it. Yeah, it needs to be this guy. It's just, we need to fix that, because in post they're going to be like, what the fuck? That's not the same guy. It's not even close. Yeah, that guy is a different mullet. Come on now. Okay, Harry Kim's lines. Beginning on page 56. Alright, that was a little making of. It was the wrong action figure. This is the correct one. Note that when you put this together, These are the footage of him in the scene. It's not a pickup scene. We're in the middle of production, but it is a pickup scene for that previous scene. Right. Yeah. So we fixed it. So find this. This is the correct one. Here's an oddity making of. We began to read this weird line as the actor playing the character. Space abortion. Actually, the actor wouldn't do that. The character. So let's fix that. There's no space abortion, but that's the joke, and it's kind of gross. But yeah, it's the character, not the actor. It's the evil Q version of it. Yeah. So change that. So you won't notice it in the script, the revision here, but there's a character, Jesse Gender reappears for this scene. I don't think she would want to be in this scene, but she doesn't belong in the scene because really, script revision, it should be Tendi saying these lines and not her. It just makes more sense that it's Tendi, the doctor, because the nurse wouldn't know about all that extra stuff. And in order to make this joke work, it's got to be Tendi. It just has to be Tendi. Then it works. Yeah. So, and she's not in the room, so it makes sense that she's, yeah. Okay. Making of going on. Okay, making of. I don't know if this tape is going to have enough for the last 10 minutes there. Making of on this this bridge scene. You already established that all 4 changelings beamed off the ship. So it would be continuity error if they found 2 of the changelings to help them. If it was them, here's what you do. Those 2 guys that disappeared earlier on that weren't the changelings, they're in that scene on the bridge. That's how you fix that. So I don't think there's enough tape to keep going on this camera, but you can go on the other one and do the bridge scene, and yeah, with the other camera. So yeah, so that's what you're gonna do. So yeah. Put the 2 characters that have been gone for like an episode and a half in the bridge scene, and then they get gone again. That totally makes sense. Yeah. This is going to be slightly revised from the scene. Page 69. 69. That's my favorite number. So yes, favorite number. That's my favorite number. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, yeah. There's a joke in here that doesn't work. It's a reference to the critical drinker and whether he likes scotch or not. It has no relevance to anything. If you're going to cut out anything from this, a little long story, cut that joke. Because why he doesn't appear in the story at any point. Horror Geek and this one have a plot in the story. They're computers, but why the hell would Cal Hazel save that guy in the memory banks? Fuck that guy. So no. Why would that be in there? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. This guy makes sense. Yeah, so leave that out. Yeah. The signal is coming from over here. 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 Do we have another Cedo? Just the one. I'm going to make a change to this script right here. I think we've brought Cedo back from the Beyond too many times. And it's getting stupid. So it's not Cedo. They're after Foster and Piedmont. Foster and Jane. And it's like months later. Yeah. Okay. So there's a slight revision. It's not Cedo. It's Foster. Looking for Foster. Okay. Action. Hi, this is Calicat the Calicaster. So on the other channel, on the main, the old main channel, we've rebooted a scene on the old main channel to feature the Star Trek convention, the unfinished, unpolished, unedited stuff. Yeah. So that's on there if you want to see that. We're probably going to edit the convention footage into this Trekkie convention that happened, Trek and other stuff convention, into a thing. Yeah. So. Yeah, into a 1 hour movie for the slideshow, 1 hour movie for the
commentary. I will probably do that later, but for now, I wanted to put all the other pieces together for this. So I posted an early version of the thing on the Orange channel, so go check it out. This is making of the which is completed printable photography on the second story in the series, in the trilogy. That's the season and of the series. It wraps up the trilogy story arc. This one is the Andover incident, and it's a full, complete story. So even if there's something else afterward, this is the completed season. The season is done. But the convention inspired a little more. But there hasn't been anything written yet. So take these two stories as, okay, this is going to be, these are both coming out back to back. So they both be done back to back. And these two 90-minute, probably roughly 90 minutes each stories. They're both set in the Picard LaForge universe, in the sort of shipping universe. But the whole series has kind of been in the shipping universe. So that's not unusual that it's set in that. It is a shipping story. The relationshipping the characters in this story in a PG way, PG-13, PG way, maybe what PG way. Yeah, the Locarno family. Come on, doesn't happen. Locarno didn't marry Esri Dax, not in real life. Yeah, and apparently, according to the other canon of the animated shows, that Sito died years ago and was not resurrected by the Romulans. Although that would have been cool. I was kind of copying the books and the comic books and brought her back. In a sense, because I was on the same wavelength. And I have this one end with them as a change in the script, because they were going to figure out a way to bring Sito back, which would have been too similar to, I think, last season's finale. They're like, oh, if we have Sito show up again, then they're kind of doing the same thing. The joke is, oh, see, they're hiding away for months for some reason. This one, the reason they're hiding away for months is because the protagonist lady, Ariana, is 4 months pregnant at the end of the story. It's a little bit of a time skip. And she's in her 50s, but she's pregnant. That's unlikely, but it has happened on occasion that somebody over menopause has had a baby. It has happened on occasion. It is possible. And it's the future, so you figure they probably, like Beverly Crusher in her late 60s having one, probably, or late 50s having one. It's probably the same idea as it's the future. So, late 50s, yeah. But they're not going to show and introduce a baby on the show. That character is kind of done. But the Piedmont one's there, so she can show up. Yeah, so she can. And they did get married at the end of the story, so they finally got married. Only to reveal, like in this scene, that closing scene there, that kid is not Holly Brooks. The kid is somebody else's, somebody named Holy Cat, from a universe that's been erased. Part of the universe been erased. Messing with space and time. Now, yet another generation ship story where galactic, Mary Sue. Where a galactic Mary Sue happened, where the character essentially saves the entire branch of humanity into space. And the only way that works is it's a Matryoshka brain, but it's not that it's a simulated world. It's that Q visiting us as children at Pine Hill in one universe and giving us Q powers enabled us to later on in life as old people to build this fleet to save humanity. And maybe we felt guilty that humanity was, through a war we could have prevented because we were Q-like. We could have just zap, and kind of an interesting idea. It's like, what would happen if this Cal Hazel guy in the story, what would happen if he had godlike powers but couldn't use them, kind of like Riker in that episode, TNG episode. Couldn't actually use them as an older guy. It kind of makes sense, because maybe he couldn't. Maybe after he was in his 50s and 60s and then 100s, he couldn't use them anymore. They'd waned some. It wasn't as powerful. But he could build some ships with fantastical technology and thoughts creating reality and stuff. He could do that. He could make people build ships and influence them to save the future of humanity. And the idea was very much a Heinlein idea, and some of the other great authors. Although Heinlein was a little misogynistic. A lot of those 50s and 60s ones kind of were. But not the misogyny part, the idea of a generation ship going through space. You might think of For the World is Hollow and I've Touched the Sky, which is basically a riff on the Heinlein book, Universe and Common Sense. It's basically that. It's that book. Yeah, Endless Universe. It's that. It's the same thing. Yeah, same plot. Big ship, they don't know they're on a ship, they discover they're on a ship. Enterprise beams in and helps them, in that episode. So it's very similar to that one. So the generation ship ideas have floated around in many of these stories, and including the Distant Destinies one, really went there. That was very much inspired. That was actually an unused Distant Destinies movie script. That was it was a Distant Cousins, Distant Destinies movie script. And then it became Cornery Space, but we used that story because we liked it. We said, what if our crew goes and encounters that? Are there more of those? Yeah, there are some more of those, but they do exist, but I'm not going to really dabble into them so much. Kind of already have in some ways. This one was very much another throwback, though. It really was. This Andover story is largely about fictional adventures and that type of shipping fiction. And there were some changes to the script. Originally, the script had LaForge, the froofy LaForge, ask the old man questions and stuff. But those two lines really didn't work. It was like, why would they? Yeah, it contradicted what he said to the computer later on, and what the computer said to him. The AI was asking, why do we want to save this planet? Deviant planet, I believe she called it. But yeah, they wanted to save the deviant planet. The funny idea of the story is ultimately that okay, if you have generation ships that are traveling at lower warp, and one of them has to have cryo sleep stuff like an Alien or Aliens in 2001, and several sci-fi movies, but they have cryo sleep for tens of years. What happens if there's a faster ship that gets there first? Because they're just faster. Ship travels at warp 1 to a planet. It takes them a long, long time to get there, right? It's the speed of light. Maybe it takes them 100 years to get there. Newer ship is built 2 or 3, 5 years later. It can go warp 2. It's twice as exponentially faster. It takes it only 20 years to get to the planet. They get there ahead of them. They mess up the colony. So then when this other ship arrives in 2363, it finds, okay, they're going to help this decimated colony out that was left behind by other ships that had come there. Also, it's kind of a riff on the Chase story and all that, which we reference in there because they did the Chase from Next Generation, so did we. Discovery did a version of the Chase story as well. And this story also implies that really it isn't like the Chase in the Next Generation. It's more like when humanity was it's kind of both. It's like when humanity was resurrected from the ashes of the world, the space wars and the cons and all that. The Calicat guys just went around and put like new versions of humans on every planet they could find. So the Vulcans, Romulans, the Klingons, and everything are essentially their idea of that from Star Trek, which is funny. So the idea is like, okay, they created Star Trek out of whole cloth from other stuff, or recreated it the way this Trekkie fan remembered it, which is funny. So his own version, which is a lot more interesting than a guy building a Stargate to go to Andromeda and then having a snarky, misogynistic crew. This is more interesting. It's like, okay, put the crew out there and have the idea of, okay, he doesn't become the showrunner and pitchman of everything in galactic space. He becomes the savior of all mankind, which is funny. Which is really pretentious, but he's not very good at it. So the joke is that like the old guy shows up at the end and he's like, I'm really bad at chess. I'm really bad at chess. Yeah, so I was just going to go on about how the story that we managed to knock out last 25 pages of it in a day, which is impressive. Yeah, so it's awesome. And it's done. And it's in the can. And we're going to put it together. Well, we already put together the other movie before the convention. This one afterward. So I got it's what seems to be the con cred, but it is actually before the con. So I probably gave the con cred to the con. Yeah, it still kind of lingers, but yeah, no, it's all back. It's fine. But yeah, for like 6 days, I could not do any filming. 6 days. Yeah. So yeah, there's a hiatus for this one. Just like there was a hiatus in the last one. There. That crew, the cast that inspired these two stories. This was months ago at this point, so it's really old news. Just like if we start writing a new story about some of the Next Generation crew and Captain Kirk going on a mission, which could happen after we put these two together and put them online and everything's done, we'll do that. And write a story about what some of the convention people said. That'll be different. That'll be way off. So that's the next possible thing out there. Yeah, there hasn't been an Atomicon for the convention, but I did discuss the convention, and I also did a commentary, a Clint Cowpoke, and yeah, so yeah, it was a GalaxyCon this time. It was the GalaxyCon. We spent all the money. So, yeah, we don't want to spend anymore. And so we're yeah, putting movies together because that doesn't cost any money. These are all fan films. They are free. There's no AI in them at all. The technology is extremely old school, go motion stuff from with action figures, and yeah. So there isn't a story about the con people. They're not involved. They didn't have Will Wheaton and cast in the studio. Obviously, that would be silly. In fact, he wasn't even there for signings. He disappeared. That one day, gone after that. He left. He booked out of there. The only other person to book out of there that fast was Shatner. So yeah, he left without even the picture. There's no con picture with him. He left. The cast picture at the end. Yeah. I referenced him at the end of the story. It was not in the script. Yeah. But having seen at the convention both Terry Farrell and Nicole DeBauer, getting a sense of how they actually are today, the Ezra Locarno Dax figure is very close to Terry Farrell today, more so than Nicole DeBauer. And I was thinking, like, okay, your inspiration here would be they meet. The Dax, Ezri Dax meets the Jadzia Dax. That'd be kind of funny. There you go. Also, let's finally do that thing where Kirk appears, but he's got all these other Captain Kirk figures. Let's do that scene where Kirk is. They go to visit Kirk for some reason. He's in it, and they go to visit him, and there's like 50 other Kirks behind him, just standing there, waiting on tables, doing stuff. Not just standing in a row, but his entire entourage is him. I think it'd be a very, very funny scene to do that. It's like set it up so there's like all these different Shatners walking around going, me, 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 which is kind of what they were getting at in that SNL sketch years ago. It was buy my book. Oh, it's the Kirk robot. Buy my book. And it's like, no, that's Kirk. Yeah, it'd be that joke, except in reverse. He went down to the android planet or something, and he re-engineered half of them so that they would be him. Because Shatner would do that. I wanted them all to reflect me and how awesome I am. I did not go to the video screening of the Star Trek V with commentary from the Trek experts and him. It was $8 more, and I didn't have $8 more. Literally, I did not have $8 more to go to that, and I did not. But they're sure to publish that somewhere, I suspect. If you really want to see the audio commentary, you can. They're going to put the audio commentary up, I would think. Yeah, because they have connections with them. They can do that. I was not affiliated with GalaxyCon in any way. Came at the spur of the moment, went to that. And not to mention that. So during this production, we also went to this convention weekend. Yeah. And started principal photography again immediately on Monday after the convention. Got it all done. Finished it up. Got it all done. Yeah, 2-day shoot. Got it all done. Last was it 3 pages here in the evening, and it's night. I guess it's night. Yeah, it's night. So yeah, I did. Yeah. So this is all the 2 stories. This is the Andover one. Yeah, and everybody was on board, and the parts where Leo Starr is humiliated, as pointed out in the story, somewhat humiliated. Not really humiliated, more like held accountable. That actually happened to the real person that it's loosely based on, and that is what happened. So it's like, oh, that is what happened. And also, the girls they were playing along with it. Or the girl was playing along. The other one wasn't there. Yeah, so the character of Woods was playing along, but not the character of Hertzman, and not the character of Emoji. Neither of them were at the meeting, the cast thing. They weren't there. So they are not to blame for any of that. Emoji's not to blame for any of that. Abby 2 is not there to blame for any of that. Abby 1 is not there to blame for any of that. And not to be confused with any other Abbies that are younger. No, these are the ones that are in their 20s. Yeah, those ones. Yeah. Nothing happened. It was really, yeah. Yeah. But there was, yeah, it was, yeah. Oh, it was a story, tell a story, put together, fun, fan story, amusing story with yet another generation ship they find and find the main computer and turn it on. Very Star Trek as well, having to do that. Except the computer's a good guy, so it's not trying to kill him. Now, how would it escape the Loom, the time-destroying Loom characters? Well, they're a little inconsistent on Prodigy Season 2. It appears that sometimes they can completely wreck a ship, but sometimes they can just grab 1 or 2 people and make them go away. So they're inconsistent, or they can wreck a planet or go away. It's like technically at the end of Prodigy Season 2, the Loom probably ate Solon. They ate the planet, because how are they going to stop them? They probably ate the planet. So the planet's gone, and they probably then blamed the Federation for the planet being gone, but it wasn't the Federation. It was the Loom. They ate it. So, yeah. So technically it wasn't our fault. Yeah. Yeah, so, Brent Spiner, Michael Dorn, and Gates McFadden were there. Ed Spleers at the convention. And McFadden and Spleers were flirting. It was kind of creepy. Kind of cringe, as the kids would say. Kind of skibbity, as the kids would say, too. A little skibbity. There was a thing on the geek podcast thing. Podcast that millennial guys going on about the skibbity. What's that mean? Yeah, I know what it means. Yeah, it's goofy, weird is literally what it means. Yeah. It refers to a toilet creature meme, basically, like a little gremlin toilet creature, but it could be a guy's head, and it refers to that. So it's creepy, weird. Creepy, weird is what I mean. Skibbity, that's skibbity. Yeah, that's literally what it is. Or sarcastically creepy, either way. Cringe. It's cringe, essentially. Same word. Yeah. Back in my generation, it would have been, that's gross, that's ew, that's, yeah, something like that. Ew. And you can be a derogative or an interrogative. Depends on what you're saying ew about. If you're doing playfully, like in the John Waters movie where the guy goes, ew, but he's excited, then it's interrogative. He's not being insulting, he's just saying, oh, ew. Well, but if he's going, ew, like gross, then that's different. That's interrogative. Yeah. Ew, it's gross and weird. It's weird, yeah. It's, I don't know why that matters at all. But the story fits in kind of with the story. Okay, so they have the aliens weird on a planet far out. Now, granted, if you've seen any of the Picard LaForge stories or anybody else's spin-offs, be under the impression that, oh, well, those were R-rated, if not more. So why are these not R-rated? Well, obviously they can't be R-rated. They're on YouTube. We couldn't do that with action figures. Even if we could, probably wouldn't. Yeah, we can't make them R-rated. So they're not. They're not R-rated. It's like Weird Al Yankovic was at the convention, and some goofball in the audience asked him, what do you think about the people doing parodies of your songs that make them dirty? And he's all, I'm not responsible for people that make parodies of my songs that are dirty. You know? Yeah, why would I be responsible for that? Yeah, it's like, I didn't do that. I would get in trouble. Yeah, my agent wouldn't like that. I make them raunchy. They wouldn't sell as many records. Yes, I know that people have made dirty versions of my song. And he was looked in the back and said, like Calicat over there. He's made a few dirty versions of my songs. Yeah. But then again, you know, they're free. So he didn't say that, but like when they reference the dirty version of Weird Al's "Eat It," and one of them says, "Oh, Cal Hazel, the character, is sort of like me, kinda." He thought of that, you know. He did the dirty parody. One of the other characters says, "Yeah, him and every other high schooler in 1985." They all thought that song is clearly a double entendre, and they immediately went there. He's like, "Of course we did." Yeah, dirty version of "Eat It," which is a dirty version of "Beat It." Yeah, of course. Combine them both, and you have what amounts to either a misogynistic, fucked up song, or or it's a sex song. It's about some kind of sex, cunnilingus or something. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, because they're immature back then, very, very, very immature. I'm not sure if it was a great idea to have like Woods and Emoji and Hertzman as characters show up. They're not. They're loosely based on actual people. But yeah, we decided on everybody should have. That would be fun because yeah, why not? Even though really Woods is technically the one that was in the meeting, and Leo Starro, well, you know, Lion Star, and Cowpoke, and the others are in the meeting, and it's like, yeah, it's like that's not all of them. The other two probably would be like, why am I in this? You know, I mean, it's not bad, but why am I in this? I'm probably thinking, that's like my brother wrote this. Yeah, but he didn't. But yeah, so there's it's it's a whole fan film thing. This is a rundown. It's fun. It's a funny story. It's far out. It's a rewrite of LaForge's World, one of the PL stories. It's LaForge's World. It basically is what it is. With LaForge Unbound thrown in and added on to the end, somewhere in the middle. So all of the PL books are now two Cillian stories. And in generational too, because you have your the Teddy Ruxpin Zuri crossover Iliop story, which is Silly Trek era. The final 2 years of Silly Trek in a nutshell. And you have sort of those characters from the final season, mixed in with a little bit of just the end of the other season because of reasons. It just made sense. So it's the late 80s, basically. Late 80s, and the second one, it's the early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s, and it's that universe. Captain Estrogen is back, yay! And we couldn't do a comic book of it, so we just put all of his jokes in this one. And then we have the third story, which is possibly before the events of First Contact, in terms of the 90s. So it would be before the 30th anniversary. So 94, 95, and around the same time, lining up with the Evergreen stuff. Even though it's 2407 in these 3 seasons, and the second and third movies will be set only a few weeks apart from each other. I think like 3 weeks apart from each other. And so that means Foster's pregnancy in the story, which we won't have a baby in the story. Don't worry, don't mark cards. That where they where they yeah. So there's a time jump, but yeah, the 24/7. What was I saying? Okay, yeah. Don't worry about that. But yeah. So 2407. So the last two stories. So the Assimilation of Eden, the board plan one, and the Far Out one, the Andover incident are set 3 weeks apart. So what I was trying to say is Foster got pregnant before the story, because in order for someone to skip their period, they have to be at least a month pregnant, a month along, and be missing it in order for that to make sense. So she's got to be like at least 2 months along already. So the time jump at the end is not 4 months later. The time jump at the end would be yeah. So she's probably 4 months pregnant already. So that time jump at the end is not a time jump. It's right there. She could be 6 months pregnant at that point, because it could be a few months later. That would make sense. So this is almost there. 6 months. Yeah, in the story, character. Keep in mind that nobody in the actual story, in the actual cast, got pregnant. And also keep in mind that it has nothing to do with the other classes and characters and casts and ESL. So nothing to do with that. And that person is not really any relation in that cast. No. Yeah, there's no one's pregnant. No one had sex at the C3 camp, basically what I'm saying. That didn't happen. So don't worry about that. That's not what happened. That was not that serious. It was not at all that serious. But yeah, that would be disturbing. No, that did not happen. It made it sound kind of cringe, but then no, it was really, yeah. It was a boundaries thing. It had nothing to do with that, obviously. But the story, the theme of the two episodes were deviant sex characters. I should probably point out that as LGBTQ friendly and bi, sometimes, oh my, I wasn't saying that was deviant. I was saying like twisted, kinky sex is deviant. And I didn't show any sex in the story, so that's deviant. I'm saying that stuff not deviant. Just different choices. Yeah. Ew. But yeah, there's the ew again. Exactly. The deviant, kinky stuff. That's ew. But yes, yeah, there's no, so it would confuse you even more. But yeah, there's no nothing untoward. And yeah, there were two or three other guys in a cast meeting. They was on board in the same way. But we're not listing any of those guys in the credits because they didn't want their names in the credits. They're not in the credits, just the team. I would like to throw at the end of the third movie that says simply Dax will return. Just throw that in there. Dax will return in the third movie. Dax will return. I'm not sure which one. Dax will return. Ooh, Oliverno. Dax will return. We'll see what that's about. Because you got a multiverse with Star Trek. You can do anything you want. You can have your you can have two stories that take place in an entirely slightly deviant, weirder universe that isn't quite the universe from the Mirror Universe, but it has kind of that same kink as the Mirror Universe. But it's not deadly. It's just kinky. Yeah, it's a little kinky. It's not deadly. It's just kinky. Ew, and you figure like with their multiverse hopping and stuff that they would do that. And that would be kind of a scary idea, is if your thoughts create reality, what happens if a villain's thoughts create reality? What happens if a real asshole gets Q powers and starts like jacking up everything? Does he create his own universe? That'd be messed up. Yeah. And I know some characters came in and came out of the story and dropped out of it. But that's the nature of a story. You don't necessarily have everybody in an ensemble doing everything. No, granted, if you do have an ensemble, use them. Steve Shives said about the Discovery season final season. As well as I say the same kind of similar thing. Yeah, do what you did. Yeah, include the main characters. Have them do something in your story. I think I succeed when I do ensemble stories like this. I get the main characters in there, but there's just so many of them. You know, include all of them, and they get something fun to do. Tam and Kestra, for instance, who have been left out sometimes, they get something to do in here. They come back around, they do stuff, they rescue the crew, whatever. And the shapeshifters went down to the planet, I'm assuming. Yeah, so. But that other planet, the Loom ate them, so we don't know if they're still around. But the originals are, the originals fine. So yeah, it's the multiverse. It is a multiverse. The problem with the Marvel multiverse was that they chose Marvel stories that were not easy to follow. I think the reason that the other Marvel movies worked in Phase 1 and 2, and that would be a tangent, same way the Star Trek stories like ensemble stories work, you got your ensemble doing something that makes sense, and you don't overstuff it with extra people. Yeah. The reason, something like Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a little long and whispery, as opposed to, was it Captain America the Winter Soldier? And that one was actually good. Because the Captain America and the Winter Soldier, that other one, because it was only a few characters and they were only doing one thing. And the ensemble was together doing something. And then going after, or the Civil War, or Avengers, or, doing something. Yeah. Even Avengers Age of Ultron had some problems, especially the Hulk and the Black Widow. That made no sense. Just Joss Whedon's slash fiction. Wouldn't it be funny? Yeah. No, it wouldn't be funny. That's also impossible. Yeah. If he was the Hulk, because he would be angry if he was the Hulk, he would rip her to shreds. She doesn't have an indestructible cooch. He'd destroy her. He'd be like, no, that's not going to happen. And she wouldn't want that anyway. No, it's dumb. They dropped that like a hot potato. Anyway, so that's that idea. And then Discovery and Star Trek doing the whole bridge crew, they kept mentioning them and showing them, and they have one line or two, and not exploring their backstories until the last season. What's wrong with you people? Let's do some of this guy likes Starship. What does that mean, though? Now, if you're going to go there and you're going to have, mention the guy that likes starships, all right, show him having to command the starship or something. An episode where he has to take control of the ship and fly it around for a while. Well, he's really good at that. Yeah, something like that. Or they completely underutilized, characters like Gray and Tel, and it's just, they kind of break up when they're on the Trill Planet. It's like, why did you introduce them if you weren't going to do anything with them? Come on. Yeah, and the other, some of the websites complaining, Steve Shives is doing too many political things. He should stick to Star Trek. What you're good at. I stick to. I've done both of those things. But yeah, I don't listen to the critics. I find I rarely get commentary where somebody's like insulting the channel, and if they do, they're gone. I delete them. They're gone. Go bye. Because I don't know them anything. They don't know me anything. I don't know who they are. They delete. I say that comment's not getting posted. I can scan all the comments that get posted. They don't get posted. Yeah, you're just not going to post there. Sorry. I didn't take that. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? Click. Gone. So yeah. I don't even have a Twitter or Instagram or whatever. I don't have that. On Facebook, a little bit. On one of my other channels. But I don't ever go there. Yeah. And the cast is not on that same Facebook at all. Yeah. But yeah, the convention inspired some other stuff. But there isn't anything written yet, so don't worry about it. This is this season. I'm going to complete this season, the 2 movies. It's going to come out and have the 2 movies. They'll say, this is the season. This is the 3 90-minute movies. One about the Teddy Ruxpin. The next one about Fruity, Picard, and LaForge, and they were going to go to the Borg planet. And this one is about the Semester's people, fictional adventure Semester's people going to their planet, which happened to be also the Andover planet. Happened to be also LaForge's world. So, cool. Even though I know, LaForge from the Star Trek universe is not from another planet. I think he's from Earth. I think they said he was from Africa or something. I don't think he actually was. I think he was actually from America. Sounds very American. Patrick Stewart was allegedly from France. Story, but he clearly was not. He's English. But they're right across the street from each other. They're across the river from each other. So but there's just it's perfectly acceptable story, fodder, cool. So, yeah. The Andover incident. We have an Andover fictional adventure story. As for the characters that were most fun to write for in the story, Jane Foster and William Hollybrook, or Ariana Foster and William Hollybrook, Piedmont, some of the others. I did change out some lines from the original script. I took gender out. There's a character named Gender in 2 or 3 scenes. She didn't belong there. It should have been Tendi. Not because she didn't need to be there, but because they didn't make sense for that to be that nurse popping in just to say, I'm the nurse. I didn't need to be in there. Doesn't mean I wouldn't do a character story with that later on. It's just that there it didn't work. I had to make some changes. I made some changes to the ending. So the last 2 pages there, some of the dialogue's different. Because sometimes when you write it down, it's completely different when you say it. And you're like that old Lucas story with Harrison Ford reading the line where, Leia, and, I've been over that before, where Leia, Han Solo is professing his love to Leia, and George Lucas wrote this big long diatribe, and he said, George, people don't talk like this. I'll rewrite it. I'll make it better. And he just took half the dialogue, took a bunch of dialogue out. He just goes, I love you. And he goes, I know. That's all you need. Because Han Solo is a player. He's like, I know. I know. Yeah. So, but that's Star Wars. There was Star Wars at the convention. Yeah, there weren't a lot of Star Wars actors at that convention. It was odd. They had droids and stuff. I think one of the guys was there. Yeah, there was one Star Wars guy there. Is the guy that played Jar Jar or something? No, it wasn't. It was No, he wasn't Jar Jar. No, it was the guy from I think the Squid Game guy was there somewhere. The Acolyte, but nobody liked the Acolyte. And they're not going to make a second season. They were complaining about that, the Star Wars show. And all I got to say about that is, they're all like, so it's got canceled. We stopped it. We canceled it. No, you guys didn't stop it to cancel it. Did it ever occur to you? They only made 1 season. They were only going to make 1 season. Yeah, it's a 1 season show. It wasn't a setup for a sequel. It ends with the main character dead. There's no sequel. It's the main character that one dies. Yeah, hey, they weren't going to. Oh, we totally stopped it because it was so bad. We had to rip on it, and then it just stopped, and they canceled. No, that's not what happened. It was canceled because they weren't going to make a second season. Maybe they will. Somebody, I don't know. But it would have made a terrible movie. From what I've seen of the descriptions of it, and it's not because they were basically ripping off Dune with the lesbian space witches, the Bene Gesserit, like an alien singing the one of many song chant. That wasn't what was wrong with it, that they were lesbians. No. What was wrong with it is it wasn't very well written. It was kind of cheesy and silly. Okay, yeah, you could have made this a 2-hour movie, showed the big lightsaber battle, because that was cool. But yeah, the rest of it, because I hear that was cool. I only saw pieces of it. But yeah, then just take all the other stuff out. And the whole evil twin thing is kind of stupid. Yeah, it's kind of lame. But I do that all the time in my stuff. But I make it interesting. I make the evil twins layered and different. And yeah, you don't know why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah, and they had flipped to the Woods and the Foster character in there. Yeah. So even the third movie of my trilogy is kind of slightly different than the second one. So they're in a slightly altered universe. I'm not sure who is what. This is kind of cool. It's like, oh yeah, you can kind of do that. You know what they should have done with Discovery? Yeah, had to be another universe. Oh, another universe. The Academy story set there. Why are they doing that? No, yeah, I don't know why they're doing a Starfleet Academy story set in that universe. That makes no sense. Set it in 2402 or something. 2402, 2403. Set it then. Bring everybody back, or set it in the time of Discovery in the Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds knows how to use its ensemble cast. Same production team. Why didn't they help the Discovery guys? It's their spin-off. But yeah. But they're kind of using the member berries. They're using an Enterprise and all that other stuff. Mark's Cards has always wanted to do a Star Trek story where it's not the Enterprise, it's some other ship somewhere in the galaxy. And that's the premise of Chimera from the beginning. Like, that's not the Enterprise. The Enterprise shows up on occasion, but it ain't the Enterprise. Yeah, it's like, this. We've been doing Lower Decks since, well, before Lower Decks even existed. We've kind of been doing Lower Decks for years. Literally, like 10 years. 15 years. 20 years, almost. The original Chimera was in the middle 2000s, 2003, 20 years. 2003 to 2006, 2008, 2009 roughly was the original Chimera role-playing series, well, the second one, at San Jose State. The movie was based on, the Starship Chimera, in 2019. 10 years later, the movie came out. Took a while. The series, though, took off in 2020 during the pandemic. 2021, right after Transformer stuff. And it hasn't stopped. They keep doing a Star Trek thing every year. We continue to keep doing a Star Trek thing every other couple months or so. We usually flip back and forth. But I think in this case, like the Distant Cousins thing, before we flip back and forth to a Transformers one, I would like to do another Star Trek one. Maybe it is a Transformers one. We'll see. Maybe it's. We haven't done a Transformers meets the Star Trek in a while. Did one. Be kind of fun if we did another. Maybe. We'll see. Maybe there will just be a Transformer in it. Walking around. I figure it's a distant future and whatever. Oh yeah, there was a funny thing. It's not in the story. DiMaggio, the voice of Bender, was asked, so who would win in a fight between Bender, Optimus Prime, and one other guy, a Cylon or something. What was the other guy that he mentioned? It was some other super role, like the Iron Giant. The Iron Giant, that was it. Ew. And I was thinking about that afterward. They said, "Oh, Bender would totally win." And I was like, yeah, Bender would win because his character. Well, the Iron Giant died in the movie, so but he's an advanced robot more so than the Iron Giant would be, and ergo, he's also, even though he looks sloppier, is more advanced than a Transformer by several centuries, because it's the 31st century in Futurama. So he would figure out how to defeat Optimus Prime too. Probably like pull bolts and nuts out of him or something. Exactly. And that's kind of what he said. Yeah, he steal his wallet or something. Yeah, that's kind of what he said. So I was like, yeah, that would actually make sense. It's like, yeah, the Transformers take place now, and like the 2010s now, 2020s now, the 2020s now, place in the 2020s now. So yeah, Futurama takes place in 31st century. They'd be well advanced. They'd be so advanced at Transformers that to them, the Transformers saw them, it would be indistinguishable from magic. Bender would literally walk up to Optimus Prime and just go, "I am taking over your mind," and he would just go, "Oh," because he's just more powerful. Yeah. So that's not happening in the story. I'm just saying that would be kind of funny. But no, I'm not going to build a Bender toy and have him show up Although something like that could happen. That'd be kind of funny. And I do have they don't make more of those action figures. Anyway, I do have a Saru and a Michael Burnham action figure, and I did them justice in the Yellow Lab story. I brought them back and had them because they were really the only two characters. I can see why they. Although Tilly's fun, but yeah, they need to make all the other ones. They need to make all the figures. Put all the figures out on Playmates. We'll buy them. Just put them all out in series form and ensemble form, separate packaging. Do it again. Yeah, they're actually cool little figures. Of course, Moonchild is the new Data from, and Roger Math was a new Riker. Got Picard and Kirk too, and Khan, of course, was the Khan from. Turned out actually that I was using the older Khan, I think. Oh well. No, I think it was the newer one. It was as Charlie X. Khan is Charlie X. Oh, yeah, the cassette, I can't see. Oh my gosh. I just thought that would be really, really funny. They need to do that in Lower Decks. What would happen if Tiana, the cat lady, who was inspired by that Chimera character, Tabby, the Tabby cat, Romulan lady, definitely inspired by, definitely. And Talisman is Tandy, of course. But yes, and so they meet, of course they do. And you have the cat, and I had to do a joke about not only La Miz, because La Miz and the kitty and Cosette, but also the cats, and also I had to throw in a nod to the horror geek, Lindsay Ellis, the former nostalgia chick, and the Google Translate fails, the Google Translate lady. They had to all be in there. I know it's kind of weird, and it added 5 minutes to the story. It didn't need to, but I wanted that in there just to YouTube culture is part of the program on the planet, so it's distracting the aliens from killing them. And the aliens are down powered so that they don't just kill everybody, kill some of them, and bring them back. But, silly trick. And the Loom. Oh yeah, the Loom are actually, if you want one, Dollar Store has them for Halloween this year. So if you want to go to the Dollar Store, I'm not sponsoring them or anything like that. But those weird plant things are called Scary Plant, with the teeth stuck to them. And yeah, they're a Halloween item. So if you want to get one for your very own, and the candy corn thing is also from Dollar Store. So if you want to get, these are props from the Dollar Store, and they were a little over $1 each. They were quite cheap, but effective. I made them effective. They worked quite well. There's 2 of them. I think there might be a third. There might be a white one. No, maybe there's just the black one. The black pen, Scary Plants. Computer room space bogs are also from the Dollar Store. Those are just water bottles that have been turned upside down and glued together or taped together. It's just different water bottles sizes. They're not bongs. You cannot smoke anything out of those. If you did, the plastic and PFCs would probably kill you. So don't do that. Go to the Dollar Store and buy that water bottle and paint it to look like those. And the paint is glowy paint using different techniques from poster paints to make them glow. It's actually glow paint. There's no glow stick in there. It's glow paint. Those props are fun. But yeah, cool. Yeah, so this is my recap sort of thing on the end of what amounts to not much on the making of movie 3, because we basically just rushed through it and didn't want to do any making of until the end. And yeah, we're on to other things, and it's almost too late. But not quite, almost too late, yeah. By the time this gets out, it's going to be, well, it's already the 20th, 21st and something. Yeah, it's already the 20th. So if you can get movie 1 out in the next 2 or 3 days and movie 2 out day or 2 after that, it'll really late August, and all of that camp stuff was a month ago. So, a little over a month ago. Yeah. So, that's definitely old news, which makes it even better, because then you can just say, oh, he didn't remember it the same way. Yeah. The Dr. Pulaski character, who's appeared before as the other one. Alien spore thing. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Pretentious Star Trek fan only thinks he's going to save humanity from itself and go out into the stars. Well, only if he got Q powers when he was 18. Otherwise, he can't do it. Yeah. We have Q powers. I wanted to go up to the signing booth. I want to say this before I go. I wanted to go up to the signing booth because Will Wheaton was there, and he was completely in character doing the thing at times, and then he went back to being Wesley. And I thought it would be funny to go up to him at the photo signing thing, but he wasn't there. He had gone. A couple of times I went over there, he wasn't there. I don't think he wanted to sign any pictures. I think he left. But I wanted to go up to him, and I wasn't going to sign a picture. I'm going to go up to him with my cell phone and go in my Voyager outfit. That's from day 2. I was going to say, because that's when I saw him. Yeah, day 2. I was going to go up to him. I was going to say, it was day 1 or day 2? Anyway, it was day 2 when I thought of it. So day 2 when I thought of it. So I went up to him. I said this in the convention tape. I was going to go up to him with his cell phone and say, like, fellow traveler from the continuum. I'm looking for someone named Cristobal Rios. He's not supposed to be in this timeline. It's 2024, and I'm looking for him. I think he might be in the convention somewhere. A reference to Picard Season 2, and you didn't go and get him, Mr. Crusher. You should have got him. Go and get him. That would have been funny. Like, oh. And I bet without missing a beat, he'd go, well, the Loom were going to eat him anyway. That'd be awesome. The Loom were going to eat him anyway. Chomp, 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 chomp. The Langolier, I keep saying Tom now, Langolier aliens. Cthulhu things. And the dollar store happened to have one. Even though the scene where Cowpoke is riding one of them isn't framed right, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So it's fine. It's fine. It's silly. And you get to see, flying up on a guy flying up on a probe. Really doesn't matter. All right, so this is what happened. That's what happened. So let's up for the evening, and yeah, it just happens.
More making of to add to the thing. The never-ending story theme song. The characters. I think the visuals are fine, but we might want to do that again just to have the visuals match better. Because it's just like a chorus singing it anyway. But I think it's cute. So we'll do some more shots of that. This is technically pickup scenes, but it's still in production, so it's technically the Star Trek thing. So this is making of, and this is going to be, so it's going to look a little weird, and then we'll read some audio tracks, and then go in there and do it again, but with the visuals. So probably to make it match, you'd probably want the action figures in there. This is not a music video. We're not doing a cover of Neverending Story and posting that. No, we're not doing that. This is a gag thing, sort of like they did in Stranger Things. They didn't just do it on Stranger Things, though. They did it on Semesters and Fictional Adventures years ago. So this is actually not to that, and not the Stranger Things one. Not to that. Yeah. So, and that was never aired. So. I don't know if in the other story we probably explained what the fictional adventures in Semesters actually were in the other making of segments as well. So there was On Location, the journals, basically a diary. It's a diary, a man diary, written by me. And the journal was on location. Also, the calling it that makes it sound like it was a newspaper, newsletter kind of thing, which it was as well. So I was always journalism and creative writing mixed in, even in junior high and high school. Started using this journal on location. It started 40 years ago. And 40 years ago, next October, coming up, it started. I was a junior hire, and Sean McKnight, and I was the inspiration for Clint Cowpoke. One of the inspirations, not Woody from Toy Story. No, Clint Cowpoke. Way before Toy Story by 10 years. Yeah, so all this stuff was like earlier. And so, so what's going on is we have on location. Yeah. And it was just a journal, it was a name. I wrote it on the blackboard. It was a name. On location. In cursive. On location. Do you even know what cursive is? Christ, I'm old. Cursive is a form of writing where you link the letters together. On location, Jung Shawan. Excellent. So in the 5 years of Pine Hill School at that point, chronicled in that the remaining 5 years, another year of junior high, and then 4 years of high school. Graduated the class of '89 from high school. And there were two competing role-playing stories. Well, there were several, but the two main ones were Star Trek and Champions. There was a little bit of Robotech before that, but that kind of went out, and the Champions replaced the Robotech one. The Star Trek one stayed, and we were the Star Trek one. So we were the Star Trek fan geeks. Yay! Nerds, we were the Star Trek guys. Fan club. We were the expert Star Trek fan club. The high school, we were the only ones doing that, and just all peripheries, the luminaries come to us, ask us about Star Trek. At the time, we'll call them Mark's Cards. Hadn't seen The Next Generation, and a couple of years later, when The Next Generation started, hadn't seen it, and thought the original crew and Next Generation were together. So all those stories would come, but yeah, location. Game. The location was also a game. It was also a number of other things. Big Tim, Tim Cantrell, Jim Buffkin, John Yeager. That's the real names. Adam Brown. They were all, and others. I think we've been over the Silly Trek thing. Yeah. In the junior year, Henry Brister left. And in my junior year, Henry Brister left, but it was actually his end of his junior high year. Mark's Cards, or John, being the same age. The next year over, Mike Van Dam replaced him, sort of a cast replacement. So we had this idea, and he was like the replacement, like they would do on a TV sitcom. The life was like a sitcom. It was like a TV space sitcom. So them coming up with that idea for Lower Decks later on is kind of silly, because it's like, wait a minute, we're already doing that. Why don't you just hire us over at Star Trek? You've been doing our stuff for years. Just hire us. We've been doing this. You do it like the back of my hand, Scotty said, and got hit in the head with the beam there, Star Trek 5. I did not see that live action Star Trek 5. Incidentally, I didn't see the Star Trek 5 live show thing. I thought that was too expensive. I was out of money at that point. At the convention, that just happened. But back to the On Location. In college, the success and failure of On Location and the others kind of tapered off a bit because we were on our own. The cliques you had in high school, because as an X-generation person, the cliques you had in high school evaporate when you're in college. Junior college, it doesn't matter. You're in a community college, no more cliques, they're gone. They do have drama department in college. You can be in drama or in art or whatever. I wasn't particularly in the drama department in junior college, but to fill in the gaps of that sweet spot in that time period, 1990, the 1990s, to fill in that early 1990s, Mark's Cards and I created On Location: The Fictional Adventures. which would take place in Andover, where Pine Hill School had moved to Andover Street, called itself Andover. That's where that comes from. They have since moved to another street and another, but the original school is still there, as of 2022, 2023. It's still there, but it's something else now. It's a little daycare place. Yeah, it's a Union Avenue. You can see the school to this day. It's still there. Carl's Jr. is completely changed inside, but the outside's kind of the same. There are Carl's Jr. hangout, and all these other places. The Great Mall opened in 1994, leaving a venue for these potential sequels. No, but yes, the Great Mall we did some of the sequels. It was all together, and so the fictional adventures and semesters were fictionalized versions of On Location. What developed into Starship Locations, basically. So it's kind of interwoven together with Starship Locations, whereas the other sci-fi stuff was turned into Starcrackers, the movie, and we know all about that, and it went online in 2014 and all that, and many years later. Once it was completed, after many years. So we know all about that. The Starcrackers was basically Star Trek. And Starship Locations has been using Starcracker scripts a lot. And Starcracker's ideas a lot, because it never got published officially. It was published in-house. The fan club people, the Flyer at the time. The Flyer was the newspaper, not through the newspaper, but the Flyer was the college newspaper. We were on that. Mark's Cards graduated from high school in 1992. So yes, he was a junior higher when I was in high school, but they were together in the same quad area. Nothing weird about that there. And also in the late 80s, early 90s, we did unsellable dirty versions of those and dirty versions of lyrics of songs. And because in high school, of course you make dirty lyrics out of songs. That's what you do. They don't get published, right? Yeah. The only ones that are published, and other people have kind of copied it, and they're online, and they're saying dirty Disney songs, the Disney ones. We did similar dirty Disney songs, which are very obscure, but you can find ours if you look for them. I think the most famous one mentioned in the lexicon was A Whole Nude World, of which somebody else did a hilarious version that is they animated and did a version of our song. It's very, very close to the original song. That's hilarious, of the Aladdin thing. That was quite funny. But the Calicat versions of those songs were posted in the early days of the internet on the Klecken channel, which is gone. So they got a hold of that footage, and they were like, oh, let's do our own version of Whole Nude World. That's funny. We never published ironically never published a Eat It parody. We didn't do that one. We didn't publish a Never Ending Story one, even though there is one. Some of the lyrics of it appear in this, in a roundabout way, so yeah. And the hilarious thing is that at that convention, we saw Weird Al Yankovic, and he commented on people doing dirty lyrics of his songs. Somebody in the audience had asked him about it and what he thought about that and everything, and he went on for a little while about saying, like, well, he wasn't responsible for people making up dirty versions of his songs, which is true. If somebody does a parody of your parody, what is it then? But he knew about, some of those. He knew about some of those, so yeah. Yeah, it wasn't specific, but yeah, he was talking about Eat It. Eat It was radio play, KOME, everything, in the 80s. Because Weird Al had done it, every junior higher kid did a spoof of it. And you can use your imagination. Now on YouTube, you can't put a song like that up. It's too raunchy. The dirty Disney songs that are the Calicat versions have the F word changed to fwump or some other sounding similar word, because YouTube, and they're sitting there. The Calicat ones have fwump instead of, the obvious word there. Or fwump or hump or something, instead of the other word, the other F word. And but yeah, they're Mad Libs was kind of the inspiration. Choose Your Own Adventure was definitely an inspiration, where you can add adjectives and descriptors to dialogues and speeches from movies and whatever, and make them sound dirtier than they actually are. We were doing that before junior high, like as kids in the playground. Before that, so all the way through. Naturally, a Star Trek type of thing would be natural progression of that. So you'd have KS, Kirk and Spock stories, which we discovered at conventions, and we're like, oh my god, these are really gross. Yes, but really funny. And they had spoofs of Beauty and the Beast too, and at conventions in the '80s and '90s. They had a spoof, and we thought they were hilarious. But some of these KS writers, they take their stuff seriously, and the new shows like Next Generation and Deep Space Nine had a few of their own. And of course, they had their own. So, but they didn't call it like Picard Riker, like Kirk Spock. They would just say Next Generation / stories. So in the late '80s, we were in high school. We heard about it, and we saw some in the conventions, and we're like, you know what? There should be. Let's think of the most outrageous characters that could be paired up. That would never be paired up. They'd be funny. And we're like, okay. I knew more about Next Gen than Cards at that point, because it was first season of Next Generation, in the beginning of the next season. It was the summer of '88, I think is when, and we came up with this idea. We're like, okay, LaForge, the character in the show, played by LeVar Burton, was acting very gay in the first season. Of course, we were a little homophobic when we did the first one, but then later on, they were like, we rewrote remakes of them, and we had and made it more just everybody's weird and metro and wants to be kinky. Yeah, so it's not that they're gay, it's that they're just kinky. Metro, they're open sexually. They're out there doing their own thing. And so the characters in the story, mind you. But, KS was meant as a slash story. They used to call it slash fiction. Now they call it what's called shipping fiction. So we were there on the ground floor. Shipping fiction. Naturally, I was 18. It's all on board. Well, yeah. So there were these stories that were never published, and we decided that, and Marx Cards wrote one, but he didn't know who the Next Generation people were. It's called LaForge Whales Not. We wrote this one, LaForge Whales Not. He didn't know who they were, so he just made it up. And he's like, okay, there's a robot, and there's a gay guy with a visor, and for some reason he likes Spuds McKenzie because it's the 80s. And Michael Jackson, of course. Boy George Michael Jackson comes from that. So it had to have been the summer of '88. It fits in the timeline pretty well. It was the summer of '88. There was a lot of stuff going on in the summer of '88. When you're young, high schooler, you think of weird stuff. And, because porn. And the Nasty Syndrome was a little before that. Not to be confused with the other one that actually published. That's not me. That's somebody else. Stuff was never published. It just went in the magazine would air these stories. So we're like, okay, the pairing here clearly is stoic Picard who doesn't like children and LaForge who's gay. So they were the Picard LaForge novels. That's where that comes from. Yeah. And there were later updates in the '90s. There was a Deep Space Nine resurgence when Deep Space Nine started. And there was one or two of those. The next gen ones. LaForge's World, LaForge Unbound. There was a wolf one. Well, that was stupid. There was a vampire one too. The most fun one I think was LaForge's World, sort of a novella, where they go to the planet and they get. It's kind of similar to the episode you just did. Yeah, they go to the planet, and the prisoners are forced to eat. Meat, beef, beast, rauk, penis, which, yeah, it's a delicacy on that planet. Penisaur planet. It's really immature. Yeah, they eat the beast's balls because they figure, it's like eating cow testicles. No, except they're eating the shaft instead. Rocky Mountain prairie oysters. No. And they're horrified and they barf. Yes. But yes, LaForge's World, yeah. That one, and then Marx Cars wrote a later one in the 80s, late 80s, I think it was late 80s, yeah. A really strange, like really short story called Shades of Pink, which introduced us to the Techites, to go to the Techite planet. And the joke was that the Techites worshipped a giant pink phallus tower rising into the sky like a big Asherah pole dick. And and then LaForge is called in to scan them and make them fruity again, because they couldn't be fruity. He goes down there to help them be fruity, because that's sure. Yeah. So by the time Marx Cars was a senior in high school, 92, 93, the resurgence of Deep Space Nine, and then on to that, nothing happened. They were just, dirty lyrics, basically. Dirty lyrics. Yeah. Fictional Adventures had started around the same time, so they had Fictional Adventures. On location, the Fictional Adventures. The premise being that one of the first gag scenes written for that, Fictional Adventures on location, was based on Pine Hill Memoirs, which he did during his last three months of Pine Hill, and did that. We're going to make a series in the 90s about what happens to Pine Hill after we're not there anymore. So you'd heard from one of the counselors that some of the characters of the school attempted a suicide pact and failed. An unalive pact, yes. And failed. And I said, okay, that's our hook. Because it didn't happen, she mentioned it. And she's well, gone now, but how's Joyce? But the counselor lady, is that's horrifying. So we were all okay. The premise of this whole season of stories, the short stories, would be that in the finale, one of them would attempt to cack himself at graduation, and because he's in love with his sister, and he's been reading her diary, and he's turned on, and he just can't be with her. So it was the 80s, well, the Clarence McKinley story character. So that's messed up. So, but then they retcon it later on in the spin-offs and second season. They retcon it and say like, the two guys that were leaving wrote that as a joke, just to be messed up, so they bring it back. Later on, they retconned it. And it had a number of characters that he knew, the main character Hollybrook and Foster knew, and they were younger, but they wrote them as older because they didn't realize how young they were. So then they got in trouble for that. And then later on, from them, and then later on, the sequel was Semesters, and Semesters was had a main protagonist. And Semesters had a protagonist in a goth girl and a Christian guy. More similar to the Cal-Cat character than Hollybrook was. Hollybrook was more this jock guy, Chris Salmon's dude from Pine, more like that. Whereas Perkins was more of a skinny, righteous guy. And the joke was that, juxtaposition was that what would happen if somebody like Clarence, but a girl version. It's made up characters. Like Clarence is a girl version, but she didn't unalive herself at Midi High School or whatever. She became his friend. That was the premise of the Semesters. That one had the interesting curiosity of actually being. There was a Christmas special that we put together, written by me and one of my nieces, who was then in high school. She's all, "Oh, I want to write for this show, the thing you're writing." And so the thing that the Semesters, it sounds funny. I'm gonna put together. Here's some ideas. Put this together as a story. It was Rachel. That was her name. Rachel Cook. And she was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, that's great. The premise was great. I wrote it. Afterward. That was a great premise. It was very funny. It had all the beats, story beats and stuff. And she said, the whole teenage life thing, college, early life thing is not that mysterious. Here's what really happens, It was actually kind of dark. There was like a main character that it's kind of like Mean Girls a little bit. I don't think she'd seen it, but it's kind of like Mean Girls, basically. The girls try to trick this guy into falling for him, and then the guy is like, at the end, the two other girls humiliate the lady, the bad guy lady, and yeah, it's Mean Girls. It's Mean Girls, a little bit of Clueless, but it was very John Hughes like. It was really, really right there. It was like the John Hughes movie. Very much, he would have done that if he'd come over. Then there were other specials, and that was kind of a theme. Holiday specials of semesters. Holiday special. In which they would retcon the last one and say, like, oh, there was a marriage one, a stripper one. There was Hollybrook's sister shows up out of nowhere. He's a sister because the X-Files had started, and they get Mulder, his sister, you see. So it was a little bit of a Star Trek connection going on. A little X-Files connection. Even back then. So then we get to, yeah, so I'm saying about semesters and fictional adventures because you didn't on the commentary. To add that to this. The funny, and then Semesters was rebooted a few times. And then in 2003, 2006, during Chimera Series 1, San Jose State, over to a little bit into 2009, the Piedmonts, the series, or then again, the cold reboot, Piedmonts, Semesters filmed at the great, done it, not filmed. I keep saying filmed. We didn't film any of these. These were storybooks. They weren't filmed. And they were PG-13. They were not KS, but they were very much in that shipping vein. They were very much that way in the 2000s. So, yeah, and even that was retconned later. So yeah, so having Foster and Semesters and Piedmont and all that, that's who they are. As for the KS stories that were rewritten, the KS people and slash, they used to call them the KS people. The guy with the slash fiction shipping stuff at the mall. At the mall. No, not the mall. At the conventions, at the San Francisco conventions when they had them. Ironically called creation conventions. That's what they were. They had nothing to do with creation. They were Star Trek conventions. They are the sci-fi conventions up until around 2004. So there was re-releases of some of those classic, I rewrote them as classic short story, next-gen era, Deep Space Nine era, and Voyager era stories. So I suppose it was the 90s. And they stopped in the 90s. They didn't do any more. And I don't think the Voyager one came out because it wasn't finished. It was a Mark's Cards one called Star Trek Voyager, and it never got done. The two that were released out there to the guy, because they were left there in the guy's collection, were Star Trek Masturbations, a parody of Star Trek The Next Generations, the movie, and in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, The Blasphemy, in which it's a little bit after the events of What We Leave Behind, and Odo shows up as Kai Wynn, so Kira can kick her ass, but it turns out to be Odo, and he's in love with her, and and then there's a twist kind of thing going on. We didn't at the time know she was actually, then a visitor actually had that baby with Acidic Fidel, and it was actually the doctor, Alexander Siddig. That was also his name. And we didn't know about that at the time. That was like, yeah, just a little afterward. So we would have put that in there. We would have put the Bashir baby in there just as a joke, but we didn't think of that because you didn't know it at the time. We knew that people were fooling around on Voyager, but we didn't include any of the Voyager. Jerry Ryan and Kate Mulroux, they were both with two of the producers of the show. But yeah, we didn't know about that at the time. So that wasn't in there because we wouldn't have thought of it. No, it was just let's have the crew be metro and weird, go down to the planet and pair off. And because in the first season they dumped the gay LaForge in season 1 of Next Generation, LaForge isn't gay anymore. So we had to come up with another character for the masturbation, the sequel, in the rewrites of these stories that never got published except for those two, and so Captain Estrogen was gonna have a cameo there. There was a episode where they do dirty parody song lyrics of Little Shop of Horrors, Little Shop of Pornos, that's what they call it in the story. If somebody else did that too, that's not us. This was never published. This was LaForge's World, and LaForge Unbound. It was LaForge Unbound from season 2 of Next Generation. It would have been 89, 90. The rewrite was in 91. So they sing Little Shop of Horrors songs, but dirty. It's funny that, which makes us a roundabout too. Weird Al saying he's not responsible for his dirty lyrics. Was Cal Cat responsible for his dirty lyrics? Well, only if they release the really raunchy ones. Like that. Yeah, they're not going to release Little Shop of Pornos, the album. That's not going to happen. It's too raunchy. But they do hear some lines from it in the movie, but only the good ones. Because we can't actually, like, get kicked off YouTube for putting up shipping fiction. We can't if it's PG-13, it's fine. So, in a roundabout way, that gets us back to this. Over here on the screen is lyrics to the Never-Ending Story song, the correct ones, because the joke is the lyrics are misheard. So we're going to have to do the lyrics that are not misheard. And there has not been a recorded parody of this song. It's all made up for the movie. There was an unrecorded parody, because we did radio stuff as fans on our little recorder thing. That never went into a station anywhere. Yeah, all that's gone, but yeah, all you get is this Cal Cat on the internet. Yeah, we can't say we're responsible for the spoof of Eat It, although we're responsible for a spoof of Eat It. Weird Al Eat It. Also, there was another spoof that won't be released. The Like a Virgin, Like a Surgeon parody was a virgin, which is a little too on the nose, I think. There is, there's a number of other ones, but those are the two main ones. Eat It and Was a Virgin. You can use your imagination. We won't go into those lyrics. But now here is one of the reasons we're not putting it up there. It would be rated R. No, we're not doing that. Yeah, because we still have other cast and camps and stuff. But we do that, don't do that. There is a risque song, "Ready or Not, Here I Come." That actually is a Cal Cat song that's out there. It's very obscure. It's a spoof of a Christian song. And surprisingly, I didn't get in trouble for that. Rather because we didn't actually write the lyrics, the cast camp did, this other camp, and I just put it to song. Yeah, I didn't write this. I just put it to song. It was funny. Yeah, and the lyrics are changed. They're suggestive lyrics. They're not. Yeah, I'm about to tell you where that D come from. Doesn't actually literally say what the D is, but you get the idea. Okay, yeah, sure. So let's do the recording here. So, making of, yeah, that was, I decided to set them all up and well, it's not a concert. I decided to do the figurines, doing it live, because then you can just put it together. The rehearsal takes, that's fun, you can watch those. But yeah, that's kind of what I was going for. I'm going to do rehearsal, like, as an old choir guy. I said, yeah, I gotta redo that. I said, I can do that. I can look better. So yeah, that. And the executive director of my own stuff, yeah, I'll do that better. So yeah, that's the rest of the making of. Okay, making of, continuing. This is the final scene from the film. After the rehearsal takes, I decided, let's put the characters back up. Let's put the set back up. And let's just do it live, because it's going to be way easier to edit that if they just do the song live. So, and then even though it's slightly different, it's cooler anyway. So it's the magic of the planet. It's fucking cool. Okay, so yeah, action.